It didn't
Oh,
launch.
it didn't launch? It
Artemis
did launch
did
or it
not
did
launch.
launch? Hello!
We just launched.
We just
Yeah.
launched. We're
It's not
live.
launched.
We're
What's
live.
up?
We're talking about, hey, quick trivia question before I introduce us, even though we're live. It's our
Yeah.
show. We can do what we want. What is the name of the rocket?
Artemis.
Artemis. Yes. Who was a famous Artemis drummer? Quick.
Artemis Pyle of Leonard
Artemis
Skinner.
Pyle. Yes, sir. What band did he play for? Quick. What
Leonard
band did he play
Skinner.
for? There you go. My God. You win the
Yeah.
dream date with Chip Ritter.
Oh.
He's not here.
Oh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to D.E.C, Drummers Education Connection. I am Bart Robley. I am here with two of the greatest drummers on the face of the planet. Jeremy, the Steamroller Steinkoller, over in the left-hand corner up in the Bay Area. And let's see. And then down in San Diego, we got Rick, the Blowback Stojak. How was that? I don't know why that happened. I was suddenly possessed by a wrestling person. A wrestling announcer. And I'm not even into wrestling, but there you have it. Anyway, everybody, welcome to D.E.C. I'm Bart Robley, and I'm just making a fool out of myself as normal. I'm really good at that. We are here today. Unfortunately, our friend Chip Ritter is not with us. He's not feeling well today. So it's just going to be the three of us. And we decided, hey, you know what? This is a Drummers Education Connection. So what we're going to do today, we're each going to give a little drum lesson on some of the stuff that's important to us and stuff that it has not only found its way into our drumming and our playing, but also I think into our teaching curriculum and you know, the like. And hopefully some of the students out there that are watching this see it and go, hey, I never thought of that. And they learned something. Hopefully some of the drum teachers out there that are watching this go, hey, I'm going to try doing that and teaching it myself. And then I hope everybody goes, hey, I'm going to buy Jeremy and Rick and Bart's book. That's what, that's what I'm hoping. And Chip, even though Chip's not here. Even though Chip's not here, you got to buy one of Chip's books as well. So anyway, welcome to D.E.C. How are you guys doing? Jeremy, how are things in San Francisco area today?
You know what? Things are great. I've got I'm super busy, a lot of gigs, which has been great. Played for 1,300 people last weekend at Sausalito Art and Jazz Festival.
Yeah.
Going down to Monterey, play Monterey Jazz Festival in 2 weeks. Super excited about that. So things are cool, man. It feels like music is back, and I'm just so psyched to be playing again.
Awesome, man. Rick, how about you, my friend? What's going on in San Diego? How are things today in San Diego?
All is well. Hours and hours every day of teaching and just loving it. And I'm just so grateful to all my students and all the support that I get from my wife and family at home to keep me energized and rested.
Thanks for making me look bad, Rick. Yo,
You're in trouble.
I meant to say also thank you to Rick's students and Rick's wife, too.
Hey, I got the rim shot in that time. It's usually Rick, but I did it this time.
Yeah, man. People are like, how do you drum for 6 hours in one day? You know, I'm like, you know, it's rest. It's positive mental attitude stuff. And
you
it's
gotta get your exercise in somehow, right?
Lots. Start in the morning with some yoga and stretching and a nice walk. Doing some positive intentions with my wife in the morning.
Yeah, I love it.
Like, we're going to see today's D.E.C show not suck. No, we wouldn't say it like that.
When does the D.E.C show ever suck?
Yeah, we would never say it like that. We would say we're going to see the D.E.C show be amazing today and just have a great time. That's what we would say. We'd have a great time.
That's
then
awesome.
all the stuff will flow if we're just relaxed about it.
Exactly. I think that's the way life should be.
Right.
Well, guys, I wanted to do this because, and I talked to Jeremy and Rick before the show. I made sure it was okay with them. I too have had a marvelous morning and day, and it's beautiful out here in Ontario. We were working on the yard this morning, planting some plants. Today's kind of a cool day for me. It's and this year's been really good. I kind of echo what both Jeremy and Rick said. I've been teaching a lot. I'm very thankful for my students and thankful for the technology we've been anointed with.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I got it in there because Chip's not here today. I have students all over the United States, up in Canada, just everywhere because of the internet and because of this show. D.E.C, I picked up some students. It's just fantastic. Today is a really cool day for me because this came out as of today, my first album. There we go. Man, we got a timpani in there. My first ever album of of my original music is
Hey,
out.
Yeah.
And
That's a big deal, Bart. Congratulations, man. That's really
Thank
a
you.
major achievement.
Thank you. And this is me and I love this picture. This is my songwriting partner and I morphed into one.
Whoa.
We are,
Oh.
yeah, that's on the inside. And we went old school. So if anybody is interested and wants to get a copy of this, I'll get some in the mail to you guys. I will, I have hard copies for sale. If you want to go old school and pay for your music, I mean, who would have thought to do that? You can buy a copy from me on my website, bartrobley.com. You can also, we're on everywhere. We're Apple Music and Spotify and the DistroKid and everywhere else. And I would love it if you guys picked up a copy of this, and I hope you like it. And then I would be remiss if I didn't do this. This has been a good year, echoing what the guy said, not only with students, but gigs are coming back to life. And I'm so thankful for my 22nd year with the Sam Morrison Band. And
Wow.
this came out this year too. And this is the Sam Morrison Band record, Unfinished Business. And look at there we are there, bunch of
Handsome
handsome
fellows.
looking dudes,
Great.
bunch of scary looking dudes
Like
right
a rock
there.
band, man.
Yeah, and so anyway, I'm very thankful for everything, and I thank you guys for allowing me a few minutes to give a shameless self plug for my record. I'm really proud of it. Have some amazing musicians on there. Everyone deserves a mention, but the list is so long. I'm really excited to have Stevie D from Buck Cherry on there. He recorded a blistering solo on the opening song, Bone Saw, and he also co-produced and recorded all the acoustic guitars on a song called Fade Away. And so check that out. And that's enough of me.
Right on,
about
Bart.
me.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Bart. I like the song 9, track 9, Duplicitous.
Oh, thank you. That one's a fun song.
It rocks out. It's such
You
an
know what?
eclectic album, man.
I never in my life thought that I would write like a punk song, right?
Yeah.
And when I wrote that song, I was like, this has totally got to be an up-tempo, just punk tune. And when
Yeah.
I was recording it and as we were mixing it and putting it together, I was like, there's two people that I thought of. I have a brother and sister drumming team. Lucy and Matthew Contreras, and they love punk music, like old school stuff, like, really good punk music, the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, just
Yeah.
everything. They're really into that style of music.
Yeah.
And their parents are into that. So I thought of their parents and I thought of you because you do all the psychobilly and punk stuff. And so that's a high compliment coming from you, my friend. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, man.
Any compliment's a high compliment coming from Rick Stojak.
It's what I'm saying.
About
If you do something on the drums and Rick says that it's good, then that means something. Speaking of which, Rick, let's quit yakking. Let's start drumming. Rick, what do you have in plan for us today? You are going to give us a drum lesson, and
oh, wow.
And what are we going to do? What are we going to hear from you, my friend?
Well, I'm excited to go first. I don't know how we picked this out, whether, age before beauty doesn't apply with any of us. 'Cause none of us are young or beautiful, so
this is true.
They just picked me first, so I'll get it done. I'm gonna mess around with train beats today. Ooh. Throw a little double kick in there. It's always a little bit fun. And I've got a couple PDFs with the train beats, and we'll post those up on the DEC website for people to refer to. They're draft for a future book, but they're draft pages. And then I also have songs listed that will pair with all the various beats. So the train beat is one of my favorite things to play, really because it's so versatile. It's great in country music. It's great in Western. It's kind of really known there and the bluegrass thing. But dude, train beats rock. I mean, train beats are just so punchy and, they're just sort of in your face and they move. And they're so diverse because we could start playing with the accents and the kick patterns. So you hear it in rock. I've played a lot of rockabilly and psychobilly, so you hear it in those styles as well. So, all right. So, Jeremy, do you have the PDF? Can you pop it up? If
I
not,
sure can.
That's okay. So, there's different ways of counting a train beat. Okay. For my intents and purposes today, do you have the other page, Jeremy? That's the second page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So for to start with, we're gonna count this the accents on the and. So we're gonna do like a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a. Okay. Now there's different ways to count. You could count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's just up, I think, to how the band wants to count it. What's the mutual agreement on 1, 2, 3, 4? Is it the eighth note or the quarter note? But for now, we're just going to count it as in 16th notes as and. So 1E and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So the great fun part about this is all the different accents. So we can add a little bada at the end. Right, and that is train beat number 2 right there up on the screen. So I added it as an anda. 3, 1, and. And to me, that really gives you that Western kind of vibe. Oh, and it kind of resets the beat when you put the anda at the end. Helps you find one, right? Might help the band find one. Of course, now we could rock these out and not even play it as a train beat. Like 3, I could just do it as like a rock beat. You know, so it's kind of cool. You can kind of go from one into the other, which I find is like a real cool effect. Like you take the accent pattern, make that your beat, and then you go into the train beat. So it's a cool kind of creative way to play. So the thing about this, though, that I find that a lot of drummers do, you know, just getting started with it, is they have a habit of hitting the accent and the kick at the same time. They get They get stuck like that, but it's so why is this hard to do? Well, because of the dynamics of the snare drum. Your first hit, if you look at number 1, that's just a regular volume note, or for our intents, we're going to play all the unaccented as grace notes. So what we're doing is we're hitting a solid kick drum at the same time a soft snare. So there's some dynamics there. So yeah, man, we got to work dynamics in. That's why these are hard to do. And I know, Jeremy, you mentioned you're going to do some accent work.
Yeah,
today,
but you know, I am, but I'm glad you brought that specific point up, because when I'm teaching this beat, that's exactly the challenge that most of my students face is when they hit the kick, they emphasize the right hand, right? And as we know, our right side is hardwired in our brains to hit together. And when you hit that bass drum strong, your instinct, your compulsion is to hit that right hand strong. And so separating the control between the right hand and the right foot to be able to articulate differently, have one be soft and the other quiet, is of paramount importance.
That's the challenge, right? Exactly, right. Jeremy. Yeah. So we've kind of got to go get it, man. We got to practice that. So over and over. I'm like, you want to do a train beat? See, this is how people, this is so many drummers, like they just try to play. They're trying to emulate. They're like, oh, I want to do that. I'm triggering a little tambourine on the rim too, which is fun. But you can't just do that. You got to start. You got to small steps, baby steps, soft right hand, solid kick.
Exactly.
I remember in one of my drum lessons a few years ago, I had the great opportunity to study with Ralph Humphrey. And one of the things that was, that he said to me, we worked on a lot of accent stuff, and I have a section in my book on accents, and like really being able to play an accented note with your left hand and then put a kick drum underneath it. So, left hand and right foot while keeping a quarter note going. Those were really challenging. And he would always say to me, and this was a thing that really came to mind when you said that, Rick, is that a snare drum's a loud instrument, so practice playing it quietly. A loud note is easy to come by, but working on playing it quietly, man, that's tough to do. Just having that restraint to and just barely tap, that's tough to do, much less to go in and play a train beat, like you're doing. I mean, that's very challenging. What are some of the things that maybe you tell students to practice so that they get that they get those quiet notes to happen?
Well, that's a great question, Bart, and it all comes down to rebound and setting up the height of the stick based on the volume that you want to do. So, and the dynamic that you're looking to achieve. So my first hit on my right hand is going to be a soft note on 1, right?
Yeah.
And then my right hand is going to basically be playing 8 notes. 1 and 2, and that's what my right hand part is doing. So I've got a soft note and a loud note. So if I want that combination, I have to set that up. So when I hit that soft right hand, I've got to rebound it high.
Yeah.
Because the next note coming is loud. And this is known as an upstroke. So soft note followed by a loud note, right? I'm not going to get a loud note if my stick is close to the head. If I'm just doing that, I'm not going to get a loud note, right?
Right.
And so I have to start soft and then the loud note. Now I'm going to hit the and loud, right? Well, I'm going to leave my stick down after that. It's known as a downstroke. I'm so excited to hear Jeremy's take on this kind of stuff too with your accent, because I have a feeling you're going to talk about some of this stuff. So I'm doing an upstroke and a downstroke, an upstroke and a downstroke.
Do you incorporate molar into your playing and into your lessons, Rick?
A bit, yeah.
Okay.
A bit.
I was just curious because
it's this is kind of molar-y, I think.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, I'm not a molar. I need to brush up on my molar too.
I was just I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
I was just curious if that was something that you would incorporate into like a preparation stroke and then a whip, preparation stroke, whip, and a wrist, or if that was something that you did. And I apologize. I did not mean to make you feel uncomfortable.
No, but that is it. That vibe, that molar. This is like the perfect thing to practice with the molar stroke.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
No, that's right on. It needs mention in this. So
Rick, I've got a question for you. I didn't mean to interrupt. Are you?
No.
Do you ever play train beats with sticking other than single strokes?
Yes, I do. And if you look at the train beat PDF at the bottom, there's some optional sticking patterns. The right, left. You'll see right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right. So the ands are accented left hand. Like that. I love that.
So here's a follow-up question for you.
Yes.
If you don't move your hands to other parts of the kit and you're keeping them both on the snare, which is part of what gives the train beat its train quality, right?
Right.
Does it change the feel to change the sticking?
Yeah, man. It changes the feel so much to me. It just changes the sound. And that's what's so cool about really learning lots of different sticking patterns and working in stick control. Because sometimes, a drummer might have the right part and the songwriter or band leader it's saying, man, it's not working. And you just change the sticking pattern and bam, they're like, oh yeah, that's it. You got it now. And it's like,
so can you speak to like why that is? Like, so for most people might think, well, if you close your eyes and you're not watching the drummer play, a stroke is a stroke. Either it's accented or it's unaccented, or maybe it's ghosted or somewhere in between. But why would the sticking matter? How and why does it change the sound if you go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left versus right, left, right, 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 left, right?
That's a really, really great question. I think that for me, it sort of resonates different parts of the drum, and we know that like, I think if I'm going right, well, listen, my right hand is over in the corner of the drum. It's a higher pitch. And I got this fat lower note in the middle. right? That's high, high, low, high, 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 low, high,
Right.
compared to, which I'm kind of more in the center. So you could play around with that. So not only play around with people, not only play around with the sticking, play around with the sections of the drum.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, the real fun part is then we could start voicing these patterns around. Right. I'm doing.
That's like the double time part in "Should I Stay or Should I Go" by the Clash.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, yeah, you're right. I never thought about that. Yeah, that's cool. I love it.
So now so that was the right, left, right, and I'm taking these different hands and bringing them to different drums. So I'm like voicing them around the kit.
Rick, I noticed on all these patterns, at least on your first page here that we have up, you've got the hi-hat on the ands. Now this is double time count, so you could think of it as 2 and 4, but is that sort of a must in playing train beats?
At the bottom. So this page is very interchangeable. You have the first 10 beats are just some basic accent patterns. And then at 11, there's some bass drum variations. And then down at 19, those are hi-hat foot variations. So my thought is be an artist, be a musician. Who cares what people are doing? Do what you think sounds effing great and make it fun. That's what I say.
I love it.
That's what I say. I don't care what this guy did. What I do though is I learned what this guy did and that guy did and this guy did and this guy did, and then I can have them all and I practice them all. They're all on this page, and then do what works for you for the song. So personally, I like the quarter note on the. I like that quarter note foot, man. I just love that, because to me it sounds more like a train. Because like when a train is going by, you got it's all this shit going on.
It's like we went to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood for
yeah.
Dude, there's all this stuff going on with a train. You're not just listening to the engine, you're listening to the rattle and the roll of each car and the track. Right. And so I've already got this and thing going. I do tend to find that a lot of people do play the train beat with the accent on the and. Yeah. But I like it there because see, it's more it's more machinery.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Like that. So that's 19. But then on 20, I wrote it with 8 notes. Right? Oh, yeah. Now I'm playing 8 notes. Oh, there's some steam coming out of the train, man.
Yeah.
Right? I took those E's and R's because I was playing an 8 note.
I love it.
That sounds like a train to me, man.
Yeah, it does.
Right? And then my ultimate favorite thing is 21. I wrote a lot of them out as 2 bars that you could repeat them just to get the content on the page. Right. But on 21, you're going to see the and of 4. That's a hi-hat foot splash. Right? Yeah. Right?
Yeah,
the foot
steam.
pop, man. The
steam.
Foot pop. That's the steam, man. That's the steam, man. Oh, I love that steam.
I want to add this just because I this is a rare fact that I know. You talked about the machinery of the train and how you're trying to emulate that feeling of the whirring and the gears and the grinding and the and all that mechanical stuff going on. And the early boogie woogie piano players, that whole style of boogie woogie piano really was created from these piano players that were playing on these trains, that they would ship them into these logging camps in Texas, and they would like, because there's like an upright piano on the train in the car, in the box car, and they would just start playing along to the rhythm of the train.
Really? No kidding.
Oh, that's so fascinating. That's part of how this evolved.
That's part of how
Really?
these train beats evolved, was to fit that style of boogie woogie piano that was heavily influenced, literally created on the train itself.
Oh,
No kidding.
Isn't that cool?
That is
a
really cool.
interesting and cool fact, man. And,
That's
and we
really
can talk
cool.
about sway and swing, which lead into that. But while I'm not just trying to show you my ankles here, I just wanted to show you how I get the foot pop. And there's a lot of ways to do it. Some people are just going to do that, but I get my heel up in it.
That's what I do too. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my hi-hat while you were playing, Rick.
No worries, Bart. I didn't even hear it. So,
what kind of shoes you wearing? That's the important question.
These are my hookahs.
Hookahs,
hookah or hookah? I can't.
Hookah bass drum patterns brought to you by Hookah tennis shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I got a question for you in regards to when you were mentioning 8th notes and 16th notes, and maybe Jeremy, or I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you do, Rick. Like, remember when you were putting this together, you asked us to put our input in on train beats, and I gave you 2. I said, I said Vince Gill, what the Cowgirls do, and South Side of Dixie. Now, when playing a lot of country music, you a lot of times they'll put a song in around a dance. So it'll be like, this is a Texas 10-step, or this is a Texas 2-step.
Yeah.
And so like, some of them are real slow tempo. I'm playing with my hands. And then other ones, like you're playing, they're faster tempo. Yeah. Does that come into play of how you would count it and feel it as an 8th note versus a 16th note?
I really don't know, Bart. I am really, really curious. And that's why I love teaching, because teaching brings up new questions, and then you can get better and more authentic.
Right, yeah.
And so I don't know the count, like if someone's dancing.
It seems to me like the slower ones, you'd almost, and of course you'd have to listen to what the melody line and everything is doing, but more of an 8th note type of thing,
Yeah, maybe 1 and 2.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Exactly,
maybe count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
To me, that's what like what the Cowgirls do. That's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Same thing, but you're just thinking, instead of a 16th note subdivision, you're thinking 8th notes.
Yeah.
Speaking of
so
which,
I have a YouTube playlist of country song of train beat songs that everybody can access there. We'll make a link to that as well.
Cool.
So oh my God. It's already 11:30. I went way over on the train beats.
Hey man, that's okay.
That's awesome, dude. Are you kidding me?
It's so fun. We just sort of scratched the surface of what can be done with train beats too. So man, you could do kicks. You could do kick drums. You could do it. You can do a whole different count. Like what? There's just different counts that you can do and different accent patterns.
And you can play with, and as you referenced earlier, you can play with the swing. So you think about something like Radar Love. Right.
Exactly. That was it.
That would be a sticking. There would be a good example of a sticking thing, right? Do da da do da da do da. You might play the sticking on Radar Love.
That might be
different.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And
right there in your left hand, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a perfect example of a molar whip. What you were playing with your left hand right there when you're playing that was a very well done molar whip. What you were just doing right there in your left hand, very well done.
You made my day. I'm gonna pay you. Yeah. One last really quick thing is, if you start playing with a swing feel, you're kind of converting your vibe into triplet bass rather than 16th note bass. So, right?
Couldn't you also say, Rick, that it could be in between, right? It could be not triplet and not straight, but somewhere in the middle.
The magic in between shuffle.
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah,
elusive
yeah, yeah.
magic in between shuffle, which is why I think it's really important, why I always emphasize to students to go back and listen to some roots music, because you're going to hear those nuances that you're going to draw upon, as time goes by.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So who's next, man? I am so stoked to get a drum lesson from you guys.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Dude, that was awesome.
Jeremy, you want to
go? You want me to go? What do you want to do?
I can
You want to do accents, Jeremy?
I don't mind. I'm happy to go next, but I will say that there's quite a bit of overlap. Now, we didn't discuss ahead of time what we were going to talk about today. So Rick came in with his train beat project, which was fantastic, which I loved and I learned from. And I was going to talk about accents, which are obviously closely related to the train beats. You give so much of your action variations, but I'm going to just talk about it a little more broadly. First, I'm going to get real specific and technical on the pad. I'm going to sit down on the kit and talk about some ways to apply some of these accents in a musical way. Cool. So let's see if we can get this going.
I feel like a kid in a candy store.
Me too.
Is that your Pro Logix pad?
It is my Pro Logix Practice Pad.
Look at that.
I got these. Look at, you got a rim on it, a raised rim, so you can practice that. It's made out of solid birch. You got two sides to it, and I have to say, I absolutely love these pads. Just nice. Delicious. It's like every time I play them, it's like I'm sinking my teeth into like a cupcake.
Delicious, like a cup of coffee in a DEC mug.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, hey! Look, where'd you get that?
That's the Drummers Education Connection mug. Good for you, Rick. That's awesome.
On the Drummer Education Connection website.
Right on. Yeah. Look at that. I need one of those.
Let's see if we can get you guys a decent angle here. I'm going to start on the pad and go over the kit. So as Rick mentioned earlier, the mechanics of how you move your stick make quite a big impact on what you can do with it. And I always say to my students that accent control is really sort of the whole realm that separates, the pros from the amateurs. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, among many other things, but this is a big one. Because if you don't have the ability to shape, being able to play certain notes louder in your playing, you're stuck in monochromatic land where all the notes are evenly weighted. And if you listen back to like early rock and roll stuff, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, things like that, early R&B, most of the fills you hear are kind of flat like that. Yeah. Even, but as the music evolved and technique evolved, well, jazz drummers were doing this a long time ago, but all of a sudden you listen to modern fills around the kit and it's and there's all this dynamism in it. There's all this action that makes it more interesting, more creative, more musical, more tension filled instead of which obviously those flat fills still have their place. But so this is just to help you sort of, become more expressive. That's what it gives you. It gives you more tools in your toolbox to be more expressive as a player. So, if there's really 4 different scenarios as far as a stroke and the rebound and, what you're going to do with the height. And what we're talking about here is height control of the stroke. So if you have a short stroke that's going to be followed by a short stroke, well, that's really easy. Just drop it down, let the rebound happen from a low spot, and it just comes back up just another inch or two, right? Okay. If you have two hands in a row, they're going to 2 right hand strokes in a row, let's say, it could be left hand too, they're going to be loud. Well, that's easy too. You start tall and you let that rebound happen, and then the stick comes back up and you're in position to do another loud stroke up here, right? It's really easy to play a loud stroke when the stick is up high, and it's really easy to play a soft stroke when the stick is down low. It's really difficult to do the opposite. So if you're up here and you're trying to play soft, you're trying to sort of gently finesse it down, and you know what? It's going to be a killer. You're not going to have the control you need. You're not going to be able to go fast with it. So loud is tall, soft is short, right? So we got short to short, tall to tall, and then we have the downstroke, or sometimes it's referred to as the drop stroke, where you a tall stroke where you're controlling the rebound and you're just keeping it, you're not digging it into the drum, but you're keeping it down so the rebound doesn't come up. So, right.
So you've referred to that as a drop stroke.
I have, yeah.
I've heard of that one as called a downstroke. So it's like a loud stroke.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the pickup stroke, or the upstroke, as Rick referred to it, where you start short and then you're really lifting it up with your wrist to pull it back up, unless of course you're using the molar stroke
Molar.
where you're doing this and then the whip
Yeah,
action.
using a
I'm not
molar
going to
thing.
get into molar right now. So
Okay.
you've got tall to short, tall to tall, short to short, and short to tall. Those are the 4 different scenarios you're going to run into, or 4 different kinds of strokes that you might utilize in playing these patterns. So what I've got that I've put together is, let's see, let me share this real quick.
I love that description, Jeremy. The tall to tall, the short to short.
Thanks.
The drop stroke, and any time you can get a description, a wording, it just helps you
think about it in a different way.
think about
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It helps
so
you
I always-
learn it and teach it.
So and the thing that I find when my students start with these is that they, instead of, I'd like to teach this really as like a binary thing. It's either tall or short and nothing in between, no middle height strokes. Now, in reality, when you're playing music and using these, you may have some strokes that are half accented, da 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 da, where there's like a middle ground, but that's easier to do when you can, exaggerate the difference, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that my students mostly have trouble with these is that they play the unaccented strokes too loud, right? So the first one would be, short, tall, short, 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 tall, short, 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 and they go tall, medium, 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 or they don't they don't really hear the difference in the accent pattern. I say to them, I want you to play it so that if I walked in the room and I didn't even see what you were doing, I could tell you exactly what notes were loud and exactly which notes, soft.
Yeah.
So the next thing, these are, I think, very, very important to practice these with a metronome, and here's why. If you look at number 2, the accent is moved to the second 16th note of each beat, the E, 1 E and 2 E and I start everyone sticking these out right left, single strokes, right left, but I will talk about doing more different stickings down the road. And what people tend to do is when they go right left and they accent the left, well, that, since that's where the emphasis is, they naturally slide that over to lock onto the metronome. So then they're doing left, right, 2 E and 1 E and left, right, right. And the left is on the downbeat. Now, of course, that's no bueno, right? Well, the whole point of these is to be able to learn to control the accents against the natural emphasis in the music. So you can play more syncopated patterns that create tension or whatever, feel different. So, so that's why it's critical to practice these with the metronome. Otherwise, it's easy to trick yourself into thinking that where the accent is where the downbeat is, right?
Right.
So, okay, so we go through these, and these are all 15 different possible ways that you can derive an accent move out of 4 16th notes. So there's the first, there's the second, the third, the fourth, the first 2, the middle 2, the last 2, and so on. And so, you go through da 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 da, number 7, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and number 8, 1 and 2 and number 9 number 10, right? And then I show them examples of these in songs. So I pull up some, Black Magic Woman by Santana, and there's that intro part on the hi-hat, or kind of thing like that, just so you can hear some application. And then from here,
was that 10?
Yeah.
Above.
Then from here, we get into 2-beat combinations. So I take every one of those halves and I match it. Oops, sorry, one sec, trying to share this with every other one.
Jeremy, am I going to owe you $100 after this?
I was gonna, dude. You just read my mind. I was like, I'll send you. I'll Venmo you $100 in a minute.
So here we have, all these combinations of every half matched with every other half. So here we start with the first one again.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Now look at number 2. You get the first half with the second half from number 2.
Yeah.
Then number 3, the first half of number 1 with the second half from number 3. Right, and so you get all the different ways of matching 1 E and with another one, 1 E and 2, 1, 2, or 1 6 or 8, and so on and so on. And page 2 does the same thing, but it starts with the accent on the E, 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and number 21, or no, what is that? 18, 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and another cool thing that happens from these. Sorry, one last thing. So there's 15 pages of those. Then I put together a packet rather of 1-bar combinations.
Oh man.
So here's where I got a little more creative and started doing my own thing and putting together a page each with each of the starting rhythms. So you see all the ones on page
Oh,
one
yeah,
start,
yeah, yeah.
the first
Yeah.
beat is the same with a
Okay.
different sequence following. Page 2 starts with the same, but all the accents start on the second 16th note and so on. And so here's where things get a little more interesting. And really, once you've gone through the packet of 2-beat combinations, the full bar combinations aren't that hard because it's just a combination of two doubles that you've already done. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, here you get your first one, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. But these start to sound more musical. So,
yeah.
Wow.
And so on. Number 2. Now, there's all different kinds of ways you can, I'm going to get on the kit in a second, but before I do, even on the pad, there's so many things you could do with these. You could, well, of course you can swap, change your sticking out and do them left hand lead. You could do doubles. You can do paradiddles. That's a whole, several months of work. You can turn the,
Years.
you could add the bass drum underneath the accent. Oh, let me just get on the kit. Hold on.
One of the things I want to say something, Jeremy, while you're getting over to the kit. When you made the remark, you said, when you start putting them together, they sound more musical.
Yeah.
Well, even right there on your pad when you were playing, it was super musical. It was very, very musical, very musical.
Oh, thanks, Bart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started bobbing my head.
Yeah. There is that point where it's something where you're playing something and it's like, okay, this is a brain teaser or an exercise, but then when you listen to it, on a pad and somebody's playing it as a pattern, it's like, yeah, that's very, 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 very musical. That was good.
Well, and oh crap. There we go. All right. Can you guys can you hear the kid okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Woo-hoo.
Okay.
That's a good sounding kit.
Gear.
So if you take that first pattern that I had up there a minute ago, it was this. Oh no, it was something. What was it? It doesn't even matter what it was. I can just make it up. Okay, so you can put your feet underneath, just keeping time. You can put the bass drum under the accents. You can do it against the hi-hat if you want. But here's some more interesting things. You could play it as an accent pattern on the hi-hat.
Yeah.
And then put the snare drum on 2 and 4. Right, you turn it into a groove that way.
Yeah.
You can play it as a fill around the kit.
Oh yeah.
Right. Now I've only got 2 toms here, but if you had 3 toms, you could a 5-piece kit. You could do snare, rack tom 1, rack tom 2, floor tom. Right.
Yeah.
You could put the accents. You could put the right hand accents on the floor tom.
Yeah.
And the left hand accents on the high tom. You
Very
could put
cool.
Right hand accents on the floor tom, the left hand accents on the rack tom, and put the unaccented notes on the snare.
Right.
Oh, sorry. And so on.
Yeah.
You could do the whole thing with doubles. You could do it with buzzes. Right. When you start adding some syncopation on the feet, you get into a little New Orleans kind of stuff.
That's what I was going to say it sounded like.
So that's just really a combination of, rudimental kind of
that New Orleans, that was great. That when
a little bit of swing.
When you started playing that push on the before you even said New Orleans, I was like, it's a sound. It started sounding real second line.
Right. So really, I mean, there's like no shortage of things you could do. I love the one, you know, and those things that I said on the toms, you know, I'll often have my students play those as fill. So I'll lay down a groove. Right, and so on.
Yeah.
So you put it in context like that, and then it makes you feel like, oh, I can conjure this stuff too. It's not just like you're looking at a piece of paper and going through the exercises. Yeah, that's how you learn the stuff. That's how you acquire it. But you got to put it into action to make it feel like it's something you can use. Yeah. So
application.
Exactly. I'm big on application because, you know, for a long time, I focused my lessons on what do you call, you know, technique and acquiring vocabulary and all that stuff, and I was big into that, and I still am. But I found that, you know, I was turning out some drummers who were really good technicians who weren't the most musical players. And you know, like, wow, this is whatever 20 years ago. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm missing this piece of the puzzle. So now I'm always big on application and showing the why for why we practice stuff, and putting it into use, and putting it in, playing along with songs, putting it in grooves, using them as fills. Because, you know, there's no shortage of stuff you can do just to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, there's a million things that'll kick our butts from here to Sunday.
Right.
That we can't do, that would, you know, might be useful, but, you know, I want to give my students
one of the things that I have to say, I would be remiss if I didn't say this, because you said 20 years ago I had all these students that would be great technicians but not real musical. Music teachers out there watching this, we don't know everything. We learn too. So you look at the way I used to teach 20 years ago and the way I teach today are two completely different things.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of know that as a music teacher, if you're watching this, you're going to grow. You know, I mean, you're going to get better as a player, but you're also going to get better as a teacher.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and better as a session player, everything, you know. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your lesson there, Jeremy, but I had to interject that. I had to, because that was so well said. I just wanted to echo on that.
I appreciate you pointing that out, and I think that's spot on. You know, I think about, you know, not that I made terrible mistakes as a teacher, just that I know so much more than I used to know, and I'm not just in terms of things, you know, exercises or vocabulary or projects or how to play Latin grooves or all that stuff that maybe I didn't know or I wasn't as good at when I was younger, but I know so much better how to teach.
Yes.
You know, how to communicate effectively, how to get them to achieve their goals more and more quickly, you know, and how to do it differently for each student depending on what they need. So that's just part of what you learn over the years.
I think it is. I think that's learning about just the human nature, I guess, if you will, of being a teacher and being you know, just being a good communicator, you know, communicating your thoughts well as a teacher and getting them out there cohesively, you know, to where a student can be precise and get it. Yeah.
Jeremy, I just love what you did. And, you know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of some of my, oddly enough, some of my extreme metal drummer students, or the ones who are in students, right? They'll come in and they already can play 16th notes on their feet at 180 or 200 beats a minute. And then they're here for drum lessons and they're already like, you know, they've got that muscle, they've got that thing, they've already got that. And they're like, but that's not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so what it boils down to, all right, well, let's do everything that you just did and let's put 16th notes on double kick underneath it.
Yeah.
And now you're getting this dynamic going, and now you're sounding really, really authentic. And so, so all of what you did, it can be, I just think it applies to all styles.
Yep.
Very much
Yep.
so.
Oh,
Very
and
much so.
this is the last thing I'll mention before I hand it off to Bart. I've got a whole other set of packets working on triplets. So everything
Oh,
we just talked about was all 16th note based or groupings of 4, and then we've got the whole.
Wait a second, you got to play accents on triplets too.
Yeah, well, depending.
Who knew?
Yeah, right.
Who
Wait, you
knew?
can accent triplets?
Bart,
Hold on. Hold
Bart,
on. Back up. Pump the brakes.
we
What's
all
up?
went over, man. We all
That's
went
okay.
over. You want to pick
I'll
it
make
up
it
and do a-
simple. I'll make it
yeah?
simple. My
Well,
whole trick is my whole shtick is I hit the drums really hard. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next time. No, you know what? I got an oldie but a goodie here for you guys, and I've got a song example, and to where I think this is. I'll start with the song example for the application, and then I'll show some quick exercises, and we can go from there. Now, if you're a drummer and you don't have this book, you're not allowed in the club, okay? Because you got to have this book to be a drummer, okay? And this book right here, seriously, this book and Stick Control by George Lawrence Stone have been within arm's reach of me since I was 6 years old. I mean, this is, they're the Bible of drumming. And that's not, and all of us are authors, right? So that's not being disparaging to any of our books. But this right here is an amazing book. And so if all of you would please turn in your textbook to page 30 and 31, please, and follow along as I read. So what I like to do here is I'm going to start with the application, and I'll give you what I refer to as a real world scenario of drumming. Okay. I played for the Sam Morrison Band, another shameless plug for that record, for 22 years. And I'm very proud of that band. We do a lot of, we have a Bob Seger tribute show that we do. We have our original music right there. And we do a lot of Southern rock's greatest hits. Now, back in the day, a lot of the Southern rock bands, the Allman Brothers, the Charlie Daniels Band, 38 Special, the list just goes on. And not just Southern rock bands, but a lot of those type of bands had two drummers. And the two drummer thing really was not only, it was for power, because back in the day, you had all these guitar players with walls of Marshalls, and they were cranking them through a PA system, and there was absolutely no way that one drummer could keep up with that stuff. So they would get two drummers for power. Different bands work different ways. That's a whole different subject matter I could talk about. Some of the Allman Brothers, one guy would take the groove, one guy would take fills, and they played off each other. Doobie Brothers, goes on and on and on. But one of the hard things is when you're playing in a band like I am now, and there's just one drummer, how do you cover both drummers' parts? So sometimes, I have to really think these things through to make a groove come to life. Now, this is a really simple thing, but it's something that I learned from using the Ted Reed book. So Charlie Daniels, he had a song, or has a song, that we play in our set called Long-Haired Country Boy. And so what happened is that one of the drummers, very simple groove, two very simple grooves. One drummer played 1 and 3 on the snare drum, 2 and 4 on the snare. 1 and 3 on the kick drum, 2 and 4 on the snare drum, 8 notes on the hi-hat, right? So he just played, right? Very, very, very simple groove. We've all done that, made a lot of money doing that. Now this one right here, the other drummer.
You made a lot of money?
No, they made a lot of money.
They did. Yeah,
I pay a lot of money, right? I don't think you're supposed to make money if you're a musician.
Okay.
So,
Just making sure.
Anyway, the second drummer played, he played an upbeat feel. He played the 8th note as a side stick. So he played. So you can imagine, and I won't switch back to the other camera just yet, when I'm playing that, well, how do I get those two worlds to come together? Well, what I did, and I have a ching ring, which I don't have with me here on my hi-hat at the house. It's in my cases, ready to go on the road. I should have brought it. I forgot. What I did is to kind of morph those two things together. I play the 8th note on the hi-hat, and then I play 1 and 3, 2 and 4, and then I play an 8th note on the ride cymbal. So what I do, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, nice. So that is kind of a real world scenario of where I would use like a 4-way, in this case, an independence thing. Okay. So what I do is, once again, if we go to page 30, the way that I practiced to get these things to come together is a really cool thing that I learned a number of years ago. I'm sure you guys have too. But for young drum teachers out there and young drummers, this is going to be gold for you. It's worked for me for years. So if you've never heard of Ostianato drumming, Ostianato, what an Ostianato is it's a repeating rhythm that we solo against, okay? So there's a different Ostianatos that we can solo against. I'm going to play an 8th note Ostianato right now, meaning that I'm going to play a very squared out rhythm. I'm going to play 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm going to play it against a click at 100 beats a minute. Just so happens I'm at 100, so I'm going to put it at 100. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 8th notes on the ride cymbal. I'm going to play the quarter note on the bass drum, and I'm going to play 2 and 4 with my left foot on the hi-hat. So that's going to sound like this. This is my Ostianato, my repeating rhythm. Now, line number 1, I'm going to apply that to my left hand. 1. Keep the Ostianato going. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll play line number 2, 3, 4. And we can go on and on and on. Do the whole page that way. Now, the next thing that we want to do is to not just have it, and I know those are very right now, it's just real monotone, like Jeremy was saying. I'm not playing with a lot of accents here. That's not, and we can apply accents to this, but right now I'm talking about building coordination so that I could play that silly little 8th note, that and beat on the hi-hat during the Charlie Daniels song, okay? This will help you with these type of coordination things. So now I want to take it into a reading thing. Okay, so now let's say that I want to do the same exact thing. Okay, I want to work this up. I can play the whole page and I'm pretty good at it. But now, you know, I want to kind of work on my reading chops. How do I get better at reading? I get that a lot. Man, I want to play in the studio. I want to be a great session player, and I can play with the click. I can play with time. I can do this. I can do all this stuff. I got great dynamics, but my reading isn't so good. Well, this is a great reading exercise, and it's see it, do it, see it, do it. Now, what I do here is on page 30, we have 12 exercises. Now, what we're going to do is instead of looking and going from left to right, we're going to look at the measures as if they were columns. So what we're going to do is we're going to read it down the column. So we're going to start at 1 and we're going to play down to 12. When I get to line 12, I'm going to play over and then I'm going to read up. Okay, so I'm going to go down, over, up. And for the sake of time, I'll just play it one time. But the way I teach it and practice it, down, over, down, over, up. Okay, so this is with the left hand. that's down, over, up.
Yeah.
Now, I about halfway through, the you know how our minds always play tricks on us. It went into my brain. Crap, you forgot to change the camera. Okay, now never let that bug you. Listen, we all have every drummer, every drum teacher, every drum student, I don't care who you are, we all have that little voice inside our head, and it says the same thing. It says, "You suck. You blew it. You forgot to change the camera. What's wrong with you? You idiot." Don't listen to that voice, right? We all got it. So right there, I'm playing along, and I'm like, "Oh, man, you forgot to change the camera." Rick even said, "Are we going to get to see you, Bart?" Nobody wants to look at my face for radio. They want to look at me play the drums. So I messed up. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to change the camera. But this time, I'm going to do the same thing. I won't do the whole thing because I know we're over. I'll just play a little bit here, but now I'm going to swing it. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to play the jazz ride pattern. For those of you younger people who may not know what the jazz ride pattern is, ding, da, da, ding, da, da, ding, da, da, ding, da. So on 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, we are playing a quarter note. On 2 and 4, we are playing the first and the last note of the triplet. 1, 2, 3, da, 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 da. And then left foot is playing 2 and 4. That is a good rule of thumb that will get you through about 8 bazillion jazz tunes, okay? Listen to Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. It's about right there. Put the brakes on, but it's right there, and it's got a ton of feel. So
Jeremy
now
lives and breathes that pattern. In fact, I bet his alarm clock probably goes ding, 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 ding.
It probably does. And so right now, just, you know what? This reminds me. I was doing a drum clinic one time, and a buddy of mine, Drew, who's an amazing drummer, and he plays for the rebirth of the Glenn Miller Orchestra.
Wow.
And I'm doing this drum clinic, and I'm up there rocking. And the second that I went to a song that swings, he walks through the door, and I'm like, God,
Yeah.
now I got to swing in front of you. That's what I'm feeling right now. I'm like, okay, I got to swing in front of Jeremy.
Oh, man.
Okay,
Hey,
so now
we
what I'm
all
going to do.
swing, right? We all swing because our hearts swing.
Right, exactly. Very well said.
Boom, boom, boom.
Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. All right, so now I'm on the top can. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, a little bit faster here. So here's my Ostianato, the jazz ride pattern with the kick drum playing a quarter note. Now if I play line number 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. And so forth. So
Perfect.
now I know we're over on time. So what I'm going to do right there is I'm going to end the playing part of going through the page. But I will say this, okay? One of the things that I think we all really want to work on is I think there's 2 things that we really want to think about with notes. Okay, I think notes, when we're playing the drums, we have really, we can talk about rhythms and styles and all this stuff, but our limbs, all 4 of them, do one of 2 things. They either rotate or they hit together. Right? That's what they do. They can either land together or they can land separately, creating rhythm. I remember in King Carl Junior High School in the 7th grade, I remember playing a song, and my job was to play the backbeat. I was playing the suspended cymbal, okay? And the suspended cymbal was just what I'm playing right here, okay? I'm playing a ride cymbal, and I was playing the backbeat, 2 and 4. For those of you who don't know what the backbeat is, 2 and 4. So I'm playing 8th note and 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I thought, wow, hey, you know what? That's pretty simple. My hands are hitting together. That's kind of cool, right? Okay, I can do that. And then I have my buddy Joel McCluskey. Oh my God, Joel is a great drummer. But he wouldn't just go 1, 2 and 3 and 4. He'd go 1. That's was like, what the heck you doing, man? You're killing me, Joel. But he would just, I realized, oh, he's rotating his hands. He's playing 16th notes. Now, what does that have to do with this? Okay, let's say I'm playing the jazz thing again. This time I'm going to play line 3. I want to make sure that on 2 and 4, where I'm simultaneously playing the kick drum and the snare drum and the hi-hat and the ride cymbal, I'm playing all 4 things, that they land together. 1, 1. So I don't want to flam, right? I don't want, right? The second you start flamming, it gets so disjointed. It sounds terrible, right? And last but not least, I will say this, okay? I think we can talk about everything that has been discussed here today, and I learned so much from my friends Rick and Jeremy, phenomenal drummers. And the one thing I learned is I got to practice more. These guys brought it, and they kicked butt, and they were fantastic. And it's a true honor for me to be in their presence and be on the deck. I've said that many times, and I just love every Tuesday because of the content that we try to provide, but it's really a selfish thing that I do here because I love every second of this. So it's really an honor. And when I watch these guys play, there's one thing that we've all kind of tried to put into this, and that is they were all playing musical, right? So the best piece of advice that I can give you, it doesn't matter if we're working on train beats, we're working on accents and crazy independence, or we're trying to get our reading chops together and put our hands and our feet together. The main thing that I would tell every student out there, play for the song. Okay, it doesn't matter if you are the greatest, most unbelievable independent jazz, Latin, Afro-Cuban drumming god in the world. If your job is to play, then play that. Right? If you're
that's Afro-Cuban 6/8.
There you go. Hey, well done. That's the only trick I got. But you're playing an Afro-Cuban 6/8. If that's your deal, I didn't have a cowbell on here, guys. Sorry about that. But man, if you can do that, but your job is to play back in black, right? If that's your gig, do that. Don't try to put the Latin Cuban thing, the Afro-Cuban Latin monster thing into back in black, because you're going to get fired, man. Play for the song. It's so important. So important. So anyway, that's my little spiel, and we went over by 10 minutes. I apologize.
Hey, that's all right. That was great stuff, Bart.
Thank you.
You know what? I got to say, guys, what a pleasure, not just to hear you talk about what you're talking about, but just to hear you teach. Like you guys have a great way of communicating, and you're clear and you're thoughtful, and I hear your words, man. You guys are great teachers. Thanks for sharing that stuff today.
Yeah, you guys are great teachers and players, and I learned so many things. I feel like I'm a better drummer. I feel like I'm a better teacher. I learned some ideas from both of you that I can apply, and it's just the best. So
hey, Bart, there's one thing I got to say, and I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, but you said something about the 2 drummers and all these rock bands, and that it was for power to keep up with all the wall of guitar amps. But I always thought that the 2 drummer thing was in case one of them spontaneously combusted on stage.
That happens too. I mean, what do you do if one of them explodes? You got it. The show must go on. Yeah, exactly.
It's always good to have 2. Yeah,
exactly. JMO just exploded.
Yeah.
Hit him harder, but
you know what I want to do? To anyone who's watched this whole thing, any drum student, I want to give you
a
big pat on the back and clap, because in our world today, there's Instagram and all these little videos, and people
Yep.
think that they can watch a 5-minute video and figure it out and be good.
Yep.
And it's not enough. You're not going to get it doing that. You got to sink the time in
Take lessons.
and dive into this, you know?
Yep.
So congratulations for watching it. We
Yes,
really
sir.
appreciate it, but you're going to grow.
Yep.
And
very
hey,
much.
one exciting announcement before we go, which I just learned moments ago. We have our 100th episode coming up in October, and we're going to have a very, very special guest who just committed to joining us for that episode, which is none other
hold
than-
on. Who is he? Are you going to say his name?
I'm
Do
going
you
to say
want
his name.
Tippity back? Oh, right in sync.
Dave Garibaldi from Tower of Power is going to be our
Yes,
guest
baby,
on the 100th
Garibaldi.
episode. One of my heroes, one of my favorite drummers.
Haha.
We're going to learn a lot from him. Can't wait to have him on. So that's something to look forward to a few weeks from now. In the meantime, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. And,
Thanks,
appreciate
everybody.
you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great